Let's take the next few minutes to focus on a woman who is changing the game. I'm talking about Gayle King, host of CBS This Morning, queen of the big interview. But here's something you may not know. She started her career right here at WUSA 9. Bruce Johnson was her mentor, and he spent today in New York talking with Gayle about her time with our news family and the call that changed her life.
Now that's how it's done. The Mystics making franchise history tonight. Darren Haynes is at the arena where the ladies are celebrating their championship win.
Jane Fonda has proved that age is just a number. Now she's taking on a new challenge here in D.C. What do you want us to see when we see you getting arrested?
There she is again.
The path to U.S. citizenship is about to get more complicated, and it has to do with the rule that's been on the books for hundreds of years.
We're tracking another cold front just in time for the weekend. We'll let you know what that means in terms of showers and how cool it's going to be one of those weekend days.
We're live from the nation's capital. This is WUSA 9 News at 11. Now this is the kind of breaking news that we like talking about. The Mystics have just won their first WNBA championship title. Let's say the fans are pretty excited. Good evening, I'm Adam Longo. The ladies put up an incredible fight and it paid off. And even if you're not a basketball fan, this is a big deal. It's a moment for our city to come together and celebrate these hometown heroes. Sports director Darren Haynes has been coast to coast. Tonight he is live at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Southeast D.C., soaking up all the celebration. Darren, what do you say?
Well, speaking of soaking up, Adam, I've been soaking up the champagne. Two champagne celebrations in a matter of 24 hours. But what a moment it was for the Washington Mystics. I mean, before the season even started, they talked about running it back. That was what they were talking about during media day. The reason why they wanted to run it back is because they lost in this round last year. That was their motivation throughout the season. And, of course, they got in some key players like Elena Deladon, who's your MVP, Misamin, who didn't play with the team last year because she was trying out for her national team so she could participate in the Summer Olympics. But now this team all came together talking about bring it back, and they did bring it back. One thing I do want to note, though, Natasha Cloud, after they lost to the Connecticut Sun in Connecticut when we were there, I was interviewing her, and she said, we're going to go win the title back here in D.C. And I was like, is that a guarantee? And she said, without a doubt, that's a guarantee. And she lived up to that guarantee because the Mystics are now your WNBA champions. How does that sound? And what a big thing for us, for monumental sports. I mean, the Washington Capitals won their Stanley Cup, and now we have WNBA champions. And then who knows what's going to happen with the Nationals? I mean, wow, should we call this Title Town yet? It's pretty good. Reporting from where the Mystics just won their first WNBA title, I'm Darren Haynes, WUSA 9 Sports.
All right, Darren, thanks so much. I know you talked with a few of the players, and we'll hear from them coming up a little bit later in the show. All right, so as you can imagine, D.C. fans are beaming with pride, but this is more than just a championship title. It's about empowering women and encouraging everyone to fight for their dreams. John Henry has that part of the story.
The Mystics have finally done it. They've clinched a WNBA title. As you can see, their fans are certainly excited.
It was such a good game.
Finally, a champion come to Washington, D.C.
But this championship win becomes even more special when you consider the impact it has on the fight for equality. Just ask the Mystics fans at A League of Her Own bar in Adams Morgan.
We want to make sure they know how proud we are of them. You watch somebody on the TV who looks like you or acts like you, it feels better. It's easier to become invested.
These fans have watched the Mystics all year and say their success shows women can compete just like men.
But this is just another example of wonderful athletes going to work and bringing home a championship. It's going to be really powerful for boys to see women win. So I'm excited for the conversation to start to shift.
While they call the inequality that exists in professional sports frustrating, for now it's not their biggest concern. These fans have something else in their mind. Will the Mystics be able to repeat? Do you think they're going to win next year?
Of course.
Once again, people here in Southeast are excited. The Mystics were able to pull it on through. You can see everyone loves a winner. John Henry, WUSA 9.
A D.C.-sized celebration. You gotta love it. Now to a story you're seeing first on WUSA 9. She is an actress, a fitness guru, an advocate for women, and an activist. Jane Fonda literally does it all. Well, now she's taking on a new challenge here in the nation's capital. She has relocated to D.C. to be a part of the fight against climate change. And our Bruce Johnson had a fascinating conversation with Fonda about how she plans to make a difference.
When weather is the big story, you know we're the place to go. The Chief has new information on a wintry mix that will impact your morning. Bye, Bryce Harper. You know he's headed to Philly, but you haven't heard our team's take on it. Crews at the President's Virginia golf course cut down hundreds of trees. Is that legal? Why weekend metro closures aren't going away anytime soon. And it's the small gestures that make the biggest difference. A stay-at-home mom who sacrificed a lot for her family gets some much-needed pampering. The news at 11 starts now. We get it, you're over winter, but we are not done yet. A wintry mix is just about to move into our area, which means your morning will be messy. Good evening. I'm Leslie Foster. The Chief is here to get you out the door in the morning, and you know what? I'm over here in your world. Something's going on.
It's true. That's true. You don't make your social visits over here. No. You should. We're looking at a big storm on Sunday, but we got to get through tomorrow, and we have to get through tomorrow night.
So date night's going to be a little messy.
looks miserable. All right, let's talk about what we think is going to happen overnight. And I got to tell you, most of the accumulation will end by 8 o'clock in the morning. So 2 to 4 inches just north of Frederick. Yeah, we put it just north of Frederick for a reason. Hagerstown, Martinsburg, Cumberland. The plus essentially on the west side of the divide. Now, closer in, Leesburg, Gaithersburg, down to almost Rockville, 1 to 2. And we're talking mainly on grassy surfaces. Then a trace to an inch down to the south and nothing into extreme southern Maryland. Here is a look at the computer models, 2, 1.8, 2, 2.8. So we look at those and we kind of draw our own maps for what we think is going to happen. Here's the radar. It's moving in fast. We said it would. A lot of this is not hitting the ground yet, but it will envelop the metro area shortly after midnight. We're looking at a little bit of snow now just to the west of I-81. Temperature-wise, we're still pretty warm downtown. In fact, we're looking at temperatures downtown 39, but 35 in Gaithersburg, 35 in Hagerstown, and we're looking at generally mid-30s. You'll fall to around freezing. And then, so 1 o'clock in the morning, here comes the snow and the mix, and then some pretty good snows by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But I got to tell you, by the time we get into the 6 o'clock hour, the accumulating snow is essentially east of I-95. We will come back. We'll talk about a big storm for date night tomorrow night, which does include a mix north and west, and then a more important storm on Sunday.
All right, top schools in our area are making the call to open late or close tomorrow because of the weather, so let's get you caught up. In Virginia, Arlington, Fairfax, and Loudoun counties will open 2 hours late. Alexandria schools are also delayed. Prince William County schools will be closed. In Maryland, Prince George's County will run on a 2-hour delay, and you can always get those closures and delays through our WUSA 9 mobile app. Our team at Wake Up Washington, they are already in the building. They'll be on the air starting at 4 a.m. to get you up to speed on those road conditions. All right, by now you've heard the news. Nationals All-Star Bryce Harper is headed to the city of brotherly love to play for the Phillies. But what you haven't heard is our team's take on it. Mike Wise will give us his thoughts in a minute. But we kick things off with sports director Darren Haynes.
Yeah, Leslie, you know what? Let's break down Bryce Harper's 13-year, $330 million deal to play with the Phillies. First, Harper's deal is the largest in professional sports history. The former National star will get $10 million plus a $20 million signing bonus this year, $26 million a year from 2020 to 2028, then followed by $22 million the final 3 years. Now, Harper will be 39 years old at that time. Now, if Bryce Harper plays 162 regular season games per year for 13 years, he would make more than $17,000 per inning, or almost $157,000 per game over the life of his contract. Or let's look at it this way. Based on his career average, Harper will make almost $45,000 every time he steps to the plate. That's almost $3,500 more than the annual median household income of Philadelphia. Now, speaking of Philly, Mike Wise explains why the grass may not be greener on the other side for Bryce Harper.
When I first heard Bryce Harper and 13 years in Philadelphia in the same story, I couldn't figure out if it was a contract or a court-imposed sentence for something bad he did. 13 years and $330 million in the city of brotherly loathe? Is that what Bryce left the Nationals for? 13 years of going into a slump and hearing that you're an overpaid bum from people wearing the same jersey? That's not professional bliss. That's Sisyphus. Bryce Harper could have chosen Los Angeles, San Francisco. Heck, he could have chosen to stay in Washington. But something about that paradise, a 2.5-hour drive north, beckoned. Maybe it was Wawa, which is considered fine dining in Philly. Maybe it was the eternal construction on I-95 that never gets done because it's New Jersey's weak to use the cement mixer. I'm not saying Philadelphia is grimy and rugged, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of their women and children worked security for Megadeth. Anyhow, good luck, Bryce. Remember what one of the city's most famous citizens, W.C. Fields, once said, "All things considered, I'd rather be in Philadelphia." It was on his tombstone. He was dead. I'm Mike Wise.
Now here's the other thing about it, Leslie.
Oh,
that was
that's
great
a little
stuff.
strong. It's a little strong.
Well,
Mike.
you know what? Listen, Bryce Harper's going to kind of get it, and Nats fans are not going to. They don't have to wait that long. The Phillies will go on the road to take on the Nationals at Nationals Park on April 2nd.
That could be a messy game.
It's their second series of the regular
season. That could be a messy game. All right, we'll see what happens.
A lot of boos.
Thanks, Steve. All right, talks with North Korea collapsed, and tonight President Trump is back in D.C. with no deal and none in sight. Instead, it is the post-summit blame game. President Trump says he cut talks short in Hanoi because North Korea's Kim Jong-un wanted all sanctions lifted before he could dismantle any nuclear sites. Now, Kim disputes that. He says a partial lifting of the sanctions would have been enough. Here's the bottom line, though. No agreement and no plans for further top-level talks. Let's zero in on one agreement between the two men that may be in jeopardy, a promise to return the remains of American service members from North Korea. Thousands of troops are still classified as missing in action. Our Mike Valerio has been on the front lines when it comes to finding our fallen and forgotten.
The dead had done their job and they were in the ground somewhere and they just forgot about them.
John Weatherall is a Korean War veteran, and he's also part of a remote search team operating 7,000 miles from home. We met John on the Pacific island of Tarawa, where we used to find the highest number of American remains missing from war. But that all changed when President Trump met Kim Jong-un. Now, instead of this Pacific battlefield returning the most American skeletal remains, North Korea takes that title, returning 55 sets of American remains from the Korean War last year alone. John Zimmerly's father is still missing, and he told us what he wants to see in the future.
We get more Americans on the ground in North Korea, then we're able to do more research, get more help, more advice on what actually happened to the missing servicemen.
But now all of that is in doubt. Trump and Kim signed nothing in Hanoi, unlike in Singapore where they made recoveries a priority. The stakes tonight, 7,600 Americans are listed as missing in Korea. 1,600 are missing in action in Vietnam. The two leaders may have walked away, but the hope is a pathway to peace also heals the wounds of war. In Washington tonight, Mike Valerio, WUSA 9.
Now to another scandal of a race in Virginia. In case you missed my take on this last night, here it is. Here is the headline from our partners at the Washington Post. Virginia First Lady under fire for handing cotton to African-American students on a mansion tour. Cotton. The NAACP in Loudoun County says what a whole lot of us are thinking. Pam Northam should have known better.
You are not privileged to miseducate folks on Black history. You should have known from the previous blow up of your husband, you may want to consult with, at the very least, a Black school.
Virginia's First Lady has apologized.